Okay, good. So, session number 3. Well done. You've made it to not quite the end of the day, but the last session of the day. And this session is going to be it's a fun session. It's very interactive, lots of talking, lots of activities. And really the goal for this session is to give you as many ideas to use when you're using TED Talks in class. But just as a quick straw poll, hands up if you have used TED Talks in your English classes before. Okay, many of you. Good. This is good. And it may be through a book, it may be through something you found online and some ideas there. This session, like I say, is to give you lots of ideas on how you can exploit, how you can maximize TED Talks in the classroom. This is a session I've done before that's gone on for 3 hours. I won't keep you for 3 hours, I promise. I've cut it right down. We'll see how it goes. So, like I said, we're going to, first of all, look at the why of TED Talks, and then the how, teaching pre- and post-activities. But most of you put your hands up for having talked with TED before, which is great, but how much do you actually know about TED Talks? So I have a little quiz for you. Unfortunately, there are no prizes for this quiz. You've got the tombola later, the raffle later. But you have the honour of winning, maybe. So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 minutes on your tables to work as a whole table to answer these, I think there's 9 questions. It's the big TED quiz. So here we go. 9 questions. Going to give you 4 or 5 minutes. Good luck. And good luck to all those online as well. Type your answers in the chat box. We'll have a look at them too. And I should say, no Googling. And no checking with ChatGPT or Claude or Poe. Just what's in your mind. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I've been told I can't finish late for this one. So different views around the room, different levels of knowledge here. So you're all going to learn something. So first one, number one, what does TED stand for? It's not teaching. Technology. Not education. Entertainment. And design. Exactly. Tech, entertainment, design. And actually, I'll come back to that actually in a moment. And what is their mission statement? What is their kind of goal? So at National Geographic Learning, our mission statement is to bring the world to the classroom and the classroom to life. At TED, very good, yeah. Ideas worth sharing. But sharing, spreading, fine. It's fine. Okay, in what year is the first ever TED Talk? Someone's Googled it. 2007? You just know it. You're absolutely right. It's 1984. A lot of people were saying sort of 2004, 2005. And the reason that is because TED Talks only became popular when YouTube got launched in 2004. So it brought a new audience to TED Talks. And at that first TED Talk in 1984, Sony presented their first Walkman. Apple presented their first computer. Sort of two of the big things. Next question. How many TED Talks are there, roughly? 7,000. 7,000. Woof! That's a lot. That is a lot. That number's almost doubled in the last 10 years. And that's just what's available online. Which of these is not a TED initiative? So we've got TED Ed, TEDx, TED Prime, TED Global. Yeah, it's Amazon Prime, right? So TED Ed is obviously the education-based videos. TEDx is the big event they have, also the smaller events. And TED Global is a global event that they have. Okay, next one's a trickier one. Which of these has not given a TED Talk? Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky is a really good one. It's really good. It is good. Steve Jobs. Bill Clinton has. Yeah. Bono has. Quentin Tarantino is the correct answer. But all the other ones have. Okay, how long is the maximum length of a TED Talk? 18 minutes. And this was researched, because researched in that anything more than 18 minutes becomes a bit boring, but you need enough time to get a message across and a story across. So 18 minutes was viewed as the maximum that should be allowed. Most watched TED Talk of all time? Not Tim Urban and his one about procrastination? Yeah, it is Sir Ken. Sir Ken Robinson, Do Schools Kill Creativity. I think it's up to something like 29 million views, which is a lot. How many? How many views, Tim? Oh, I don't know. Okay, and the last one, the 3 reasons why we should use it, it's an open question. Okay, there's many, many answers. But why, those who do use TED Talks in their classes already, why? What is it about TED Talks that make them such a great resource for our classrooms? Any suggestions? Okay, it's current topics. So it's interesting, it's motivating, it's engaging. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're learning something, you're developing, absolutely. Yeah, real-life connections. Authenticity, we said here, right? It's authentic language. It's not graded like a course book listening. It's the kind of language they might hear out in the real world. Good. Anything else? Presentation skills like we saw just now with Charlie, analysing them for, their own development. Great examples of oracy, exactly. All of which are on my list. So, yes, provides authentic and extensive listening practice. So, when you think about your course books that you normally use, the listenings, like I said, they're all scripted. They're all paced at an appropriate pace for that level. It's not reflective of the real world. And they're all about 2 minutes, 3 minutes long. But in the real world, we don't listen just for 2 or 3 minutes. We don't listen to a scripted thing the whole time. No. So therefore, bringing TED Talks into the classroom gives us an extra element to a listening task. As we said over here, it engages, it motivates, it can inspire your learners. Get them excited about a topic. Get them excited about learning English. It's meaningful, it's relevant, because like we said here, they're up-to-date topics. I think they also represent goals of 21st century learning and what we want to achieve. These TED speakers, they are critical thinkers. They are global citizens. They're making a difference. They're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk as well. And if you go onto the TED website, you type in any social development goal or sustainable development goal, and there's talks on everything. Inequality, equality in education, climate change, plastic waste, transformational policies for a sustainable world. And they're from people all around the world. So it's global Englishes, different accents that are coming into the classroom. Again, think about your course book. What accent do they normally hear in your course book? And what kind of British accent? The Queen's English, RP. 1% of the population in the UK speak RP. So think of all the people in the world that speak English. RP is literally 0.0001% of English speakers. So why do course books insist on it?
And the Romanian English speakers.
Yeah? There we go. What else? And yeah, of course, it's just learning more than just English. I think it's exciting for learners to think, okay, I'm going to my English class, and yes, I'm developing my English skills and English language, but I know that I'm going to learn something else. And it might be that they forget the grammar point, the vocab that they maybe learned with that, but they're going to remember that TED Talk. And that's kind of what we can hang the lesson on. We can say to them, 6 months later, remember that TED Talk that we watched on whatever? No, oh yeah, we remember that. It was this, it was really cool. And then you might say, well, what words did we learn in that lesson? What grammar did we learn? And they should remember some of it because of the TED Talk. So look, many reasons why we can be using TED Talks in the classroom. And to sum it up, really, it's a bit like an iceberg. I think people think TED Talks initially are just, it's all about listening. It's not just about listening. It's big ideas, communication skills, critical and creative thinking. And they're what we're going to be focusing on in this session. How can we use the TED Talk beyond just listening practice? How can we use them to drive communication and critical and creative thinking? So, Maximising TED Talks. And the TED Talk we're going to use for this, the one that I chose, is all about telling lies. And how to spot a liar. So, be honest. Be honest. Are you a good liar? Do you tell lots of lies? Have you told any lies today? We all do it all of the time. Okay. So, we're going to start off with some previewing type activities, first of all, okay? And the first one we're going to explore is called Think, Puzzle, Explore, which is just a very simple routine that is structured and scaffolded in a way to get students to activate schemata and knowledge, but also to create purpose for watching the TED Talk. So the think is very simply, well, what do I think I know about the topic? What do I think I know about how to spot a liar? Maybe I know certain things from crime series that I've watched, or detective shows, or maybe something I read. But what do I think I already know about how to spot a liar? Maybe you think you're a really good lie spotter. But what questions do I have? What puzzles do I have about the topic? In other words, what do I want to know more about? I want to know what makes a good liar. What's the best way of spotting a liar? What are those telltale signs? And then the explore is, well, okay, how can I find out more about this topic? I've watched the TED Talk, I've learned some things. Where else can I go to learn more? So very quickly on your tables, I want you to discuss those 3 questions. 2 minutes, off you go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the actual content changes. Okay, good. Body language, right? What kind of things? Okay. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, misleading things. Right, my little boy, it wasn't me, it was my sister. Yeah. Right. What other body language might give them away? Right, so eye contact. But isn't that funny? Actually, maybe we know that, and they go the other way, and they're like, and like make really strong eye contact, try to hide it. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite ballsy, isn't it? It's like, I'm looking in the eye and I'm telling you this lie. And because of the eye contact, it has to be true.
Yeah, one or the other, right?
Exactly. And then like,
Exactly.
okay, that's enough time. So, what do you think you know? How do I spot a liar on this table? What are some telltale signs of those liars? You know everything. Okay, so there's facial expressions. Okay, so like, so again, so facial expressions, comments like that, yeah? Ladies here? Scratching your nose, yeah, or your ear. Everyone, it's like a poker table. Everyone has a tell. It's like scratching their ear, scratching their chin. Yeah. Maybe their ears go red. Maybe, yeah, too many details. Yeah, because if you're lying, you're kind of embellishing information. It's like, well, that's too much going on there. They're trying too hard to create the lie. Too long, yeah, too much eye contact. Or avoiding eye contact, absolutely. Maybe they get twitchy fingers. Maybe they're, I don't know, go a little bit red in the face. Right, looking in certain directions, yeah, looking to the left, looking to the right, avoiding that eye contact, essentially. Okay. So look, sorry?
So one direction is when you're making up stories, and one direction is for recalling what
Oh, okay, so if you look left, you're making something up. If you look right, you're recalling something. Interesting. But surely as a liar, I know this thing, and I'll try and do the opposite. I know. It's hard. And we'll do some practice of this a little bit later on at the end of the session. So look, you're kind of getting ready to watch the talk. Your knowledge is activated. You're curious to know more, right? But I'm not going to watch the video just yet. I want you to do some more kind of activation of schemata. And we're going to do what's called a quote debate. So I've gone through the audio script, or the video script rather, of the TED Talk, and I've picked out some statements which I think are a little bit controversial. And I would get my students to discuss the quotes. Do they agree with them? Do they disagree with them? Why not? We're not going to do this because of time, but I'll show you some examples. So for example, truth number one about lying. Lying is a cooperative act. Why is lying a cooperative act? Do I agree with that? Do I disagree with that? Maybe. Lying is an attempt to connect our wishes and our fantasies about who we wish we were, how we wish we could be, and what we're really like. We lie more to strangers than we lie to co-workers. We're against lying as humans, but we're covertly for it. It's as old as breathing. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. Really? Okay. So they're quite controversial statements, and like I say, in class, I'd get my students to debate them, give their opinions, give their views. And by doing that, going through that process, is creating purpose for viewing. They want to know more about it. So they're motivated and they're focused. Because I think often with a listening lesson, students are kind of looking out the window half the time. And they're kind of half an ear is listening. But when we kind of get them to tune in and give them real purpose, a real meaningful reason for listening, then that's a beneficial thing overall. We're going to do one more before we watch the TED Talk. And this is an anticipation guide. And this is about, again, getting you eager to know the answers to things that will be revealed in the TED Talk. So very simply, it's a quiz. It's a true or false quiz. I'm going to give you 6 statements that have all come from the TED Talk. Some of them are true, some of them are false. Your jobs on your table is to decide which ones are true, which ones are false. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to look at these 6 statements. Okay. So, how are we feeling? Are we feeling confident? How many do you think are true? 3, 4. I need to tell you the answer very quickly. So, I'm not going to reveal all the answers, but I will tell you that there are 3 true and 3 false. 3 true and 3 false. Does that change your views and opinions? Okay. Let's watch the video. Listen for the answers. Because now you have a real purpose. You want to know that you're correct. You don't want to know that you're wrong. How right am I? So you're completely focused on the listening. You're motivated, you're engaged. Here we go.
Okay, now I don't want to alarm anybody in this room, but it's just come to my attention that the person to your right is a liar. Also, the person to your left is a liar. Also, the person sitting in your very seats is a liar. We're all liars. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you what the research says about why we're all liars, how you can become a lie spotter, and why you might want to go the extra mile and go from lie spotting to truth seeking, and ultimately to trust building. And we all kind of hate to admit it. You know, we kind of wish we were better husbands, better wives, smarter, more powerful, taller, richer, the list goes on. Lying is an attempt to bridge that gap, to connect our wishes and our fantasies about who we wish we were, how we wish we could be, with what we're really like. And boy, are we willing to fill in those gaps in our lives with lies. On a given day, studies show that you may be lied to anywhere from 10 to 200 times. Now, granted, many of those are white lies. But in another study, it showed that strangers lied 3 times within the first 10 minutes of meeting each other. Now, when we first hear this data, we recoil. We can't believe how prevalent lying is. We're essentially against lying. But if you look more closely, the plot actually thickens. We lie more to strangers than we lie to coworkers. Extroverts lie more than introverts. Men lie 8 times more about themselves than they do other people. Women lie more to protect other people. If you're in an average married couple, you're going to lie to your spouse in 1 out of every 10 interactions. Now, you may think that's bad. If you're unmarried, that number drops to 3. Trained lie spotters get to the truth 90% of the time. The rest of us were only 54% accurate. Why is it so easy to learn? Well, they're good liars and they're bad liars. They're no real original liars. We all make the same mistakes. We all use the same techniques. Let the science temper your knowledge a little bit, because we think liars fidget all the time. Well, guess what? They're known to freeze their upper bodies when they're lying. We think liars won't look in the eyes. Well, guess what? They look you in the eyes a little too much just to compensate for that myth. We think warmth and smiles convey honesty, sincerity, but a trained lie spotter can spot a fake smile a mile away. Can you all spot the fake smile here? You can consciously contract the muscles in your cheeks, but the real smile's in the eyes. The crow's feet of the eyes, they cannot be consciously contracted, especially if you overdid the Botox. Don't overdo the Botox. Nobody will think you're honest. And now we're going to look at the hot spots. Can you tell what's happening in a conversation? Can you start to find the hot spots, to see the discrepancies between someone's words and someone's actions? Now, I know it seems really obvious, but when you're having a conversation with someone that you suspect of deception, attitude is by far the most overlooked but telling of indicators.
Okay, sorry. That's it. I know, but we've answered all the questions. The whole talk is about 18 minutes, so you can go online, search for Pamela Mayer's How to Spot a Liar, watch it on the way home. So, did anybody get all 6 correct? Oh, Tim's watched it before. Or is he lying? He was very confident there, wasn't he? Yes. I'll find out for you. Yeah. So look, number one, the person sat next to you is a liar. True. The average person is lied to up to 200 times a day. True. We usually lie 5 times within the first 10 minutes. Yeah, it was false. It was 3. So it's kind of a little white lie. I just changed the number. Number 4, spouses lie to each other 1 in 5 interactions. Okay, that's better. Few. Liars usually avoid eye contact. This is false. And therefore, number 6 has to be true. Okay, so you're good. You're on the road to being good lie spotters and truth seekers. Okay, so obviously the purpose of those activities was the previewing, to get you focused, to get you engaged in the task. Obviously, post-viewing, we want students to talk about it, not just answer comprehension questions. Because in real life, if we've watched a really good TED Talk, or heard a good podcast, or read an interesting article online, what's the first thing that we do? Go and answer comprehension questions about it? Pretty sure that's not normal. What do? We talk about it, we share it. And that's the word, we share it. We share our views and opinions. So whenever I do a TED Talk, I would never go straight to the questions. I want them to respond to it in real time. And using a 3-2-1 activity helps to scaffold that. So 3 things that I found interesting or surprising or maybe even shocking. 2 things that I've got questions about, or maybe 2 things that I disagree with. We can change these things. And 1 thing that I would like to fact check. Well, she said this, but that can't be right, can it? Up to 200 times a day? Where's this statistic come from? So very quickly in your tables, I want you to do a quick 3-2-1 discussion on the TED Talk. What were your thoughts? What surprised you? What shocked you? What have you got questions about? What do you want to fact check? Off you go. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I am keeping my eye on the watch. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. It's a gentle discussion. But of course, in class, when you do this with your students, it's essentially a comprehension check in itself. They're reacting to what they've heard. And you can be monitoring around as a teacher, picking up what they've heard, what they've understood. That works just as well as any comprehension question. Now, that's not to say that you can't do comprehension questions. Of course you can, because there might be specific details, specific information, gist, listen tasks that we want them to do. So, by all means, absolutely. And in course books, we'll have these preset comprehension questions. But we can always go one stage further as well. We can use them as a springboard for critical thinking. So we mentioned already today how this is a key future-ready skill. Where was it on the list? Do you remember? Where was critical thinking on the list? What number was it on the list of future-ready skills? Not 3. That was adaptability. It wasn't 4. It was 5. Very good, Charlie. And it's very easy to integrate them into tasks. So we could get them to analyze the talk, for example. And by this, I mean getting them to think about how effective the talk was, how well she presented the idea. I was going to ask you what kind of questions, but we don't have time. But yeah, things like this. Is the purpose of the talk evident? Why not? Was the overall argument clear? Why not? Was the conclusion valid? Which part of the talk was most memorable and why? Was it because of the way she said it? Was it the actual facts? Was it the visuals? What was it about that part that made it so memorable? So this comes back to what Charlie was saying about oracy and actually exploring that. Well, what made it such a good talk? And then hopefully they can pick up on that and then use it in their own presentations going forwards. By the same token, was there any part that didn't work? And why didn't it work? What didn't you like about it? How does she use her voice, her intonation, her body language? How does that influence you? How does that help her get her message across? So it's essentially, in this case, analyzing, learning how to be a presenter, how to be more effective as a presenter. And did the talk change your perspective on liars in this case, or whatever the talk might have been? And why has it changed your idea? And if it hasn't changed your view, why hasn't it changed your view? So it's getting under the skin of the TED Talk, rather than just asking surface-level comprehension questions. But actually, this is something that we sort of integrate into the course as well. So we always have these critical thinking sections where we're getting them to identify different aspects of the course. So we're not asking you to reinvent the wheel. A lot of the time, course books do this for us. So in this case, it was about identifying her stance on lying. But it might be things like identifying the takeaway message, understanding the purpose, evaluating the message. But we don't want to rely on the course book all the time. There's so many more things we can do. We could get them to do comment boards. So I'm a big fan of Padlet and using it for as many different kind of activities as possible. In this case, essentially, this is what we do in real life. We watch something, we read something, we comment on it online. YouTube is just full of comment boards, right, underneath the videos. Well, try to replicate that. It's social media, digital literacies. So let's go to the site, they write their comments. You might want to give them personas if you wanted to. Up to you entirely. If you want to leave your own comment on this Padlet, feel free to do that. That is a live Padlet. Scan the QR code. You can comment on your thoughts on Pamela's presentation on lie spotting. If you want to. I won't be marking it. I'll read them, and I'll give you likes and stars and things if you like. But it's just involving them a little bit more, getting them in their world. And a comment board does get them to think critically. They have to reflect on what they've heard, what they believe, what they don't believe and explain why. It's a really simple thing to do. Another simple activity, interview the speaker. We've obviously learned quite a lot about her during the TED Talk. Admittedly, we've not seen the whole thing, but we have an idea. So invite your students to think of questions. In this case, you might say, think of 3 questions that you would like to ask Pamela about her talk or about lying. So maybe, well, you tell me, what questions could we ask Pamela? Okay, why did you choose to study liars? Yeah. My question would be, Pamela, what is the biggest lie you've ever told? What else could you ask?
Do you sometimes lie about not figuring out that the person in front of you lies?
Oh my, that's really common. Yes. Okay. Woof.
How can she explain that the lie detector is not 100%?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. How can you explain how the lie detector is not always 100% accurate? Right. That's a good one. Is a human better than a lie detector machine, than the polygraph? Has anyone taken a polygraph machine test before? Yeah? Really? I don't want to ask why. It's for a job. What, for a spy agency? MI5? CIA? FBI? You got away with it. So there we go. The machines don't always work. We'll talk later. We'll talk later. I'm intrigued now. Anything else you'd like to ask her?
How many lies have you introduced in this
Right, yeah. How many times has she lied in the presentation? I mean, hopefully none. What's your research? Right here. Right, if we have this knowledge of information, yeah, how should we react? One more. Right, exactly. Can we trust anybody? If every one of us is a liar, even you guys online, how can we trust anybody in life?
What is the starting age? The starting age.
Well, actually, in this TED Talk, she talks about it. From the age of 2, they are lying. Lying becomes prevalent at the age of 2, and then at the age of 5, they're becoming experts. Watch the TED Talk, you learn more about it. I mean, it's fascinating. Right. Exactly. There's blurred lines. There's blurred lines. Okay. So it's a nice little activity to, again, get them thinking critically about it. And if you wanted to, you could then send them online, research about her, see if you can find any of these answers. We then have an activity called the 4 C's. And this, it's a critical thinking activity, but it's about a structured, scaffolded discussion relating to the TED Talk. So the first C is what we call the connections. So what connections can you make between the TED Talk and your own life? So she says how men lie more about themselves than anything else. You know what? Yeah, it's probably true. I made that connection. We lie 1 in 10 times or 10 interactions with our wives. No, that's not true. I never lie to my wife. What connections can you make to it? The second C is about challenge. What do we want to challenge? What do we want to disagree with? Because just because it's someone on stage who is an authority on the topic doesn't mean that we can't question them. Doesn't mean that we can't argue with them, that we can't disagree with them. And actually, we want to encourage that. Because by encouraging that, we are getting them to think critically, not to believe everything that they hear or read or indeed see. Now, I don't want them to be skeptics about everything in life and questioning everything, but having that questioning mind is important. Third C is concepts. So what do I think were the key takeaways? What did I learn from it? What was the most important message? And by the way, for all of these things, will students be saying the same things? No. They have different views, different opinions. That's what creates the discussion. So, maybe someone says, oh, I thought this was the most important part of the talk. You're like, really? Why do you think that? I thought it was this. And you explain why. I disagreed with this because. Well, why did you disagree with that? So it creates quite an authentic discussion. The fourth C. What's the fourth C? Can you guess? Conclusions. It's similar to conclusions, but not conclusions. Any other guesses? I'll help you. Changes. What changes in attitude, in thinking, in action are suggested by the TED Talk, either for you or for other people? Maybe now you're going to leave, God, I'm not going to trust anybody ever again. Or maybe it's, actually, I should be a little bit more wary, a little bit more careful about how often I'm being lied to. Or maybe it's like, you know what? I need to be a better liar. I need to stop looking people in the eye. But not as a presenter. And so on. Okay, how are we doing for time? 5 minutes, perfect. A couple more activities. This is a really good one just to finish on when you've done a TED Talk. I used to think, now I think. How has your views, how have your opinions changed? So it's similar to the changes one in the 4 Cs, but as a standalone activity, I used to think this about spotting a liar. I was wrong. I now think this because of what she said, what she showed, or vice versa. I used to think this. I think the same now. Well, why do you still think the same? Why have you not changed your view? What was it about her talk that did not convince you or that did not surprise you or make you think differently? So it's a reflection activity. And when you're reflecting, you're thinking critically. Okay. Panel discussions. I forgot I had this one in. You can make a panel discussion really quickly with the help of your friendly, favorite AI chat buddy. And you ask it to make your personas, right? So in this case, you might have a moderator, or you'd always have a moderator. You'd have a supporter, a skeptic, and I've got 2 moderators for some reason. There should only be 1 moderator. So in this case, you'd have someone who's supporting her views about lying and someone who's against the views about lying. And you give them suggestions. So the moderator would say, Pamela Mayer says most people lie every day. Do you think this is true or is she exaggerating? The supporter has to agree. The skeptic has to disagree. So we're creating an artificial debate. Okay? And then, of course, the moderator balances that argument. And then they change roles. So the moderator becomes the supporter, the skeptic becomes the moderator, and so on. And you give them a different task. Pamela Mayer says we should look at our body language to spot lies. But is this fair? Can we really judge people on their behavior? So again, the supporter agrees, the skeptic disagrees, the moderator again summarizes it. So it just creates further discussion. So more of a role play than the 4 Cs or the 3-2-1 activity. Okay. Final thing. Particular to this TED Talk, 2 truths and a lie. Well, it's a classic ELT activity, right? Because I want to know how good you guys are at lying and spotting liars. So, I'll do an example first of all. I'm going to tell you 3 facts about myself. Which one is a lie? 2 of them are true, 1 of them is a lie. First of all, I have a twin brother who is 5 and a bit minutes younger than me. Now, I'm not going to tell you yet. You have to hear all 3 of them. B, I've met 2 famous Borises in my life. Boris Johnson and Boris Becker. And C, before working in English language teaching, I used to work as a video games journalist. Which one is the lie? Okay, let's do some hands up. Hands up for A. A few of you. Hands up for B. 2 or 3 of you. 4 of you. Hands up for C. Okay. I must be a good liar. Why did you think C, by the way? Most of you thought C. Why? Oh, okay. So 20, okay, fair enough. A is the lie. However, it's a kind of a white lie. I am a twin. I do have a twin brother. But he's 5 minutes older than me. So it's a tricky one. And I did work as a video games journalist. I spent my days playing video games for a job. It was a lot of fun, but it didn't pay very much. It didn't pay very well. Okay, so with the, oh, hang on, I've gone the wrong way. Very quickly with the people on your table, 2 or 3 of you tell 2 truths and a lie. Go. You've got about 2 minutes. She says. Never again, right? Too precise. Thanks for that. But what? Yeah, I think they'll have to report. Okay. There is a recording of that as well. I did a similar session last week online. So send me the link, and I'll send you the link. Okay, just another 30 seconds or so. So, were the people at your table good liars, bad liars? Were you good at spotting the lies? What gave them away? It depends. Okay. So look, let's wrap things up because time is not my friend, as always. What I would say, obviously this kind of activity can take time in class. What you can do it again as a Padlet, where you get your students to record themselves, and they record themselves many times if needs be, presenting their 2 truths and a lie. And actually, linking back to what Charlie said, this is a great way to actually develop those oracy skills, their presentation skills, in front of a camera, talking to the camera clearly, good eye contact, body language. Sorry, I heard my name. Oh, who they all are. So yeah, I did this with my colleagues. Okay, so let's summarize very quickly. We can maximize TED Talks by making personal connections in the first instance, getting them to relate it to their lives as much as possible. Using them as a springboard for critical thinking and communication. Thinking about those pre-watching, pre-viewing activities as well as the post-viewing activities. And we can analyze them for best practice for presentation skills, like Charlie was mentioning earlier. Something we didn't look at, which you can do as well, is to analyze it for language. What kind of language is in there? Use the video scripts for presentation language or even just general everyday language. So I'm going to leave you with a quote. The power of education, and more importantly, the power of a teacher, is the ability to infuse ideas that will influence mankind. This is what TED Talks do. They inspire, they infuse ideas. And as teachers, this is also what we do on a daily basis. So we can double down on that by using this kind of content that is inspiring the learners to develop their knowledge of the world, to develop the skills that we want them to have going forwards into their careers. Thank you very much. Take some time to reflect.